Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. In the second day of our two-day international conference on inclusive pedagogical strategies in language classes, a humanist approach, I'm privileged to introduce our substantial guest speaker, Dr. Anne Dorathy, ma'am, Head Department of English, Saveetha Engineering College, Chennai. She has 18 years of experience in language teaching. Our eminent guest has done her PhD in ELT. She has obtained C1, advanced level in Business English Certificate BEC exam from Cambridge Assessment English. Since 2009, she has been a British Council authorized BEC trainer. Since 2018, she has been an approved Cambridge speaking examiner for Cambridge OET, Occupational English Test exams. She has also served as a board of member BOS member at Vellalar College of Engineering and Technology, E-Road, for the Department of Science and Humanities for the academic years 2020 to 21 and then 21 to 22. She has organized many big training programs, workshops, faculty training program, and then she has given guest lecture too. Our respectable guest has published papers from national journals to Scopus indexed journals on language, second language acquisition, technology in teaching and learning English language, and then task-based language teaching, the role of ICT in English language teaching, and so on. Moreover, she has done manifold paper presentation, participation in webinars, conferences, workshops, and FDPs. And her key performance areas are designing curriculum to accumulate different learning styles and maximize students' comprehension, providing assistance to students to develop the skills, language skills, establishing effective classroom management practices, and so many. So we are so happy to have you here, ma'am, Misters. Thank you so much. And then now, our prominent guest, Dr. Anne Dorathy, ma'am, will enlighten us with her speech on the topic learning difficulties, reasons, and remedies. Now, the stage is yours, ma'am. Thank you.
Dr. B. Radhika will honor the resource person with the momentum.
Oh, thank you. The lights mattu konjam. Thank you, Madhumita, for those kind words. Good morning, everybody. First, I would like to thank the management and the Department of English MEPCO College for inviting me to deliver a lecture on learning difficulties, reasons and remedies. Before I start my lecture or presentation, I would like to talk about this person. The man you see in this picture is Jared Blank. He was diagnosed with a disease when he was 5 years old. So, at a time when he was at school, he thought that academic success would be a great thing for him, because he thought that whichever took 1 hour for other. Working with his tutors, he really thought everything what he learned there would be very difficult for him. But he succeeded. Today, he has a career in collegiate athletics and advanced degrees, many degrees from top universities. He has run more than 7 marathons also. So can you just tell me what disease he had? A guess. Yeah, and I'm sorry, it's not cancer. Yeah, you people are right. It's dyslexia. I think many of you have heard about dyslexia. I think many of you would have heard dyslexia also when we were small. We wouldn't have taken a test. But we have come across many people who have come, who have had dyslexia, and they have overcome that disorder. Not only Jared Blank, we also see many personalities, film personalities also. For example, Abhishek Bachchan. I hope all of you know who is Abhishek Bachchan, the Greek god. Maybe people call him the Greek god. Any guesses? By his killer look. In the Hindi, yes, you're right. Hrithik Roshan also had dyslexia and also a stammering problem. But they all have, even Leonardo da Vinci had dyslexia. But they all have overcome this disorder. So let me move. So learning disability. So I'm not going to touch much upon learning disability because we'd be focusing more on learning difficulties. So how many of you here are teachers of English? Only few hands. Maybe others, research scholars. Very soon you're going to be teachers. You also will come across this problem, learning difficulties, from the students, as well as we also have learning difficulties. As a teacher, we still have some learning difficulties. So we'll just touch upon all these things. So learning disability, maybe the disabilities are many, and among the 4 skills, when we have some difficulty to listen, read, write, or speak, it may be due to many problems. So the disability is mainly due to dyslexia. So I hope you all know what is dyslexia. So I've just given something for you to read. Maybe I am not going to explain what is dyslexia. It is reading based. People have problems with reading things. They are slow. They are not able to process what they read. They can't understand. They are not able to identify words or letters. So all is dyslexia. They are very slow also in processing things. That is dyslexia. So dysgraphia, that is writing based. They are not able to write properly. So that is dysgraphia. So dyscalculia, I hope many of us has dyscalculia, maths problem. I think that's why we have taken, many of us would have hated maths and moved to literature. We had a choice, so we moved to literature. So I think even I have this dyscalculia. I have trouble in totaling when I just evaluate papers. So it takes for me some time to calculate the total marks. So this is dyscalculia, and we also have this expressive language. I hope we all know what are productive skills and what are receptive skills. Productive skills are speaking and writing, and receptive skills are listening and reading. So at schools, the teachers or we were mostly being focused to only productive skills. That is only on writing. We were assessed only on writing skills. Do you agree with me? At schools, I'm not talking about the undergraduation. At schools, the students are tested only on writing skills. We didn't focus, or the teachers didn't focus on reading skills. Maybe reading to some extent, because we had compositions, we had some reading with reference to the context, we had some activities related to reading also. But we didn't focus much on listening and the other one. Speaking skills. So we didn't focus much on, we were not tested on speaking skills, we were not tested on listening skills. But when they come to the undergraduation programs, either it can be a arts college, or it can be an engineering institution, we expect them to listen, read, write, and speak like a native person. Don't we expect them to do that? Yes or no? We do expect them to do that, but they have problem. So they have problem in expressing themselves. They are not able to receive things properly and comprehend them properly. So that is a receptive language problem. So they also have visual processing disorder. So they're not able to process what they see. They're not able to comprehend. They're not able to respond to what they see. That is visual processing disorder, and also audio processing difficulty. I think faculty, those who teach listening skills, can relate to this because students are exposed to a lot of accents which they are not able to understand. So they find it very difficult to process, do some listening activities in the classroom. So these are all only disorders. They are not difficulties. These are some disabilities which they have. Maybe it can be due to some problems when his or her when the mothers were pregnant, they had some injuries, or it is related to clinical. It has to be attended clinically. It needs some medical attention. So when these all can be overcome when given proper treatment. Okay, so these are all disabilities, not difficulties. These are all disabilities. So we should know the difference between difficulties and disabilities. So disabilities they have from their birth, or they develop it when they just fell somewhere, or when they are not able to do some things. So I hope many students now, even in our classes, we have people with dyslexia. So we have to be a little empathetic towards them to help them overcome these problems. They have been taking some treatment to overcome these disabilities. Now we move to the types of learning difficulties in language learning. So as language teachers, language educators, we are all more concerned with the difficulties which students face when they learn a language, when they produce a language. So these language difficulties or learning difficulties can put under two categories. One is expressive language difficulties, that is, they have difficulty with speaking and writing. Mostly students, when I asked a few of my faculty members, what problems do you think students have when they express themselves? Most of them said when students write, they are not able to construct proper sentences. They have problem in constructing proper sentences. And when speaking, they are out of vocabulary. They don't have enough words to express themselves. Those problems, expressive difficulties. So they have problem in expressing themselves either by speaking or by writing. The other one is receptive language difficulties. Receptive language difficulties, we often we have already ignored these two skills when students were in their schools, that is listening and reading. We think that they can listen, they can read. So even in the first year of undergraduation, we teach them the difference between hearing and listening. So can anyone say that what's the difference between hearing and listening? 1 point. Yes, you're right. Somebody else? I can hear you, but I'm not listening. Yes, why? My mind is alright. Yes, sir. So listening needs. Are you? Now? Fine. So listening needs attention. We have to focus and then listen. But hearing is just, if we don't have any hearing ability problem, hearing takes place automatically. So even in the first year of their undergraduation, we have to tell them the difference between hearing and listening. We make them, what would be the span of listening? The time span of listening. How long can a person? I think it differs. Maybe one says that he can listen for 40 minutes without distraction. 7 minutes. 7 minutes. You say that it's 20 to 25 minutes, and somewhere they say again 20 to 25 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. We cannot make a person listen to us for more than 20 minutes with full attention. What shall we do after that then? Because our class is for 1 hour. So we have to make them listen to us. maybe, as you said, we can just give them, maybe initially we can give them some ice breaking session, we can make them listen, we can fine. I think I'm fine. I think it's fine. I think am I, you want me to move up? He wants him to move that side. Maybe I think I'm comfortable standing here because otherwise I'd be just you have to look up like that to listen to me. I think now it's fine. I think all are comfortable. Whether I'm standing here, fine. Thank you. So receptive language difficulties. So you all said that listening span is not more than 20 minutes. For someone, it's 7 minutes. So how can we make the students listen after 7 minutes or after 20 minutes? Maybe sir said that we have to give them some ice breaking sessions. Maybe initially at the initial stage we can give them some ice breaking sessions. We can make them interact. Activity based learning will help. Yes. Interactions. Yes, interaction is the key. I think we have to interact with students. We can ask questions to the students. We can make them respond to our questions. We can give them some pair activities, group activities, whatever. We can make them listen to each other or listen to us. So we have this receptive language disabilities. They have challenges with understanding the language. They are able to listen to someone, but they are not able to process, comprehend, or respond properly. They have this language problem. For example, a person with a dyslexia, when you write 5, they take it as yes. They have this processing problems. Okay, sometimes they write it reversely also. When we write yes like this, they write yes like that. Okay, so they have this problem with dyslexia. We have such students also in our classes. We don't know that they have this problem, but they have. And people who have this receptive language difficulties, they are not able to receive the verbal cues also. Because we say body language plays a very important role in communication, and it's a fact that body language has got 57%, whereas words has got only 7% or 7%, and the rest is the tone of the voice. Okay, so since body language has got the major portion in communication, some students are not able to understand the verbal clues also. Okay, so verbal clues plays a main role when they listen to someone. They can understand easily when they listen to the person who's talking to them. So types of learning language, we can categorize them as expressive language difficulties and receptive language difficulties. So for this, we've got some strategies. Maybe you all might be using these strategies in your classes, and the soon-to-be teachers can also use these strategies in your classes. Maybe I've just limited to a few here, but there are lots of language teaching strategies. The first one is be flexible. How can you be flexible in your classes? Being empathetic towards your learners, giving the slow learners or students who have learning difficulties, you can give them some extra time. Extra time means we all know that it's 1 hour class. We have got 70 students in a class. I hope you all have managed 70 students, or to the extreme 60 students at least in your classes. So we have portions to complete, we have tests to be conducted, we have things to be assessed. There are lots of things we have to deal with in our language classes, but still we can be empathetic towards the slow learners or learners with some difficulties. Be flexible, give them some extra time. Giving them extra time when you're giving a group work or a pair work, giving a little extra time to that particular group, making the slow learners also to speak will help them a lot. Being empathetic towards and being flexible towards the slow learners, making language learning multi-sensory. So what if I talk to you without a PowerPoint presentation? What will you all do? You will not listen to me for more than 7 minutes. Like you said, you only will be physically present here, you would have gone somewhere else. But what if I show you some PowerPoint slides like this, show you a picture, or play some audio things here? So maybe to some extent I can capture your attention. I can make you listen to me. I can see something and read from that thing. So give them some multi-sensory things like audio files, video files, so that because there's a saying like a picture is worth 1,000 words. A picture is worth 1,000 words. So you can just show them a picture and make them identify the what is that nouns in it. You can make them what people ask them to say what people are doing in that picture. By that you can just teach them. I hope all of us have taught parts of speeches in the classes. Even now we teach to the undergraduate students parts of speech. So when you show a picture and you ask them to identify the parts of speech in that picture, definitely they would remember it for a long time. So we can use multi-sensory things in our class, some audio or video files. So communication is the key. The next one is communication is the key. When people with learning difficulties, when we give them instruction after instruction, they would be confused a lot. So first thing is you need to communicate properly to the students. To the students means to the slow learners or to the students with the learning difficulties. Just tell them what you want them to do first. Maybe when we tend to give instructions, we tell them you should do this, next step you shouldn't do this, next step you should do this, next step you shouldn't do this. People get confused with what they have to do and what they have not to do, are not supposed to do. First, give them all set of instructions, what they are supposed to do first, so that they have a clear understanding about what they have to do. Even when you're teaching something, tell them all the positive things first, and maybe all the ones which is related to one topic first, and then move on to the other topic. Okay, so that the learners with the difficulties are not confused with what you're just talking to them. So go step by step. Next one is repeat and recap. Sometimes we use this, right? We tell them what we are going to say, we tell them, and then finally we do a recap of what we do that. Maybe slow learners are not attentive in your class. You're just gone somewhere mentally out somewhere. So when you do a recap of what you where you have been talking so far, it will help them a lot. So repeat and recap what you did. So repeat and recap, we can relate to something else also. When you just make them do some group activities or some pair activities, you can make, when students, they don't talk to you, they talk to their peers, they talk to their classmates. So you can make them repeat things. You can just pair them up with a strong student. So you can make them repeat, you can make them recap. So in such a way that you can help them a lot. So that is repeat and recap. Be well organized. This is actually helps in the classroom. For example, I told you that we have been teaching parts of speech in our classes, but the students would have learned parts of speeches from their second standard, third standard onwards. But when they come to their undergraduation, I'm talking about the engineering students because I'm teaching the engineering students now. So when they come to the first year classes, when we ask what is a noun, what is a verb, they still struggle. When we show a picture and ask them to identify the nouns there, identify or talk about what people are doing, they still struggle. So we have to be well organized. Like we start from the basic things to the complicated ones. So when they are strong in the basic things, when they can identify the parts of speech in the picture properly, you can make them construct sentences using the parts of speech. You can then ask them to talk about the same part of, the same thing as a noun as well as a verb. So as well as a preposition or like that, the same word as different parts of speech. So you can just move from one step to another. So we have to be well organized, moving from simple things to the complicated ones. This will not going to help the creamy layer students, but they feel frustrated, they feel irritated when we start from the basic things in the class. But we have a lot of students, not many students are with creamy layer. We have a lot of students with learning difficulties in our classes. This would help them a lot. In some institutions, what they do at the time of admission itself, they segregate the students into different streams. For example, basic English, they conduct a diagnostic test, and based upon their performances, they are put in basic English, advanced, communicative, or different levels. One way it is wrong, actually. We shouldn't stigmatize people in this groups. But in another way, it is actually helps the students, because we don't have we don't see the strong dominance of students in the class. We don't see people getting intimidated in the language classes when all the students are of the same level. Mostly students in engineering colleges, they fall under this A1 to A2 category. I mean, the proficiency level, they are at A1 to A2 level. And many students, they come from regional medium schools. In our institutions, we have students from Bihar, we have students from Andhra. So they are not able to understand simple instructions. But they are tech savvies. Do you know what they do when we talk to them? Their phones, they have their phones with them, and they have this Google translator with them. I mean, whatever we talk, they just do. I mean, I don't know how to do that also, but they do that. They are they can do that very well. They just type in their language, they translate it, they show to us. This is how we are communicating with the Bihari students and students of from Andhra also. So here we were talking about moving from simple things to complicated things. It actually helps in language classrooms. The last one, focus on fluency. As language teachers or language educators, we have this thing like when we give feedback, how do we give feedback to students when we assist them? Can some of the language teachers just answer this question? How do we assess them? How do we give feedback to the students? Maybe if I'm asking a student to give his presentation for 1 minute, how would you give feedback for that student? Based on fluency, content, maybe some rubrics. We have some rubrics. No, these are the rubrics we know. Now, how do we give feedback? On what basis do we give feedback? Do we give all the positive ones or all the negative ones? Yes, first positive. So actually, focus on fluency. So we want a person to be fluent, no matter whether he makes some mistakes, some grammar mistakes, or whether he has got some problem with vocabulary or what. So we should first focus on the fluency, how fluently he spoke, or we need to give him or her a positive feedback first, and then move on to the negative ones. Not negative ones, the ones which he or she has to work upon. So first thing is we point out we focus on all the can do statements first. So this is how Cambridge exams also work. We just look upon what the student can do. So we focus on the can do statements, and then we move on to the points which he or she has to work upon. In this way, we are encouraging a person, we are motivating a person to produce a lot. Rather than touching upon his mistakes, we are touching upon the ones which he is able to do. So reasons. We were just discussing, been pointing out some difficulties. So these difficulties, I just got this from many teachers who are teaching language for a long time. And some problems, even you would have encountered these problems in your classes also. Like the first one is teacher-centered environment. I hope all of you accept this. Maybe even when we wanted to be interactive in the class, we would be the one who would be talking for all the time in the class. Maybe if it's a 50 minutes or 1 hour class, we'd be talking for 15 minutes and 5 minutes for the students to get inside the class and 5 minutes to take attendance. The rest 15 minutes, we would be the only person talking in the class. So many of the language classes are teacher-centered classes. Even we had other, we had tried out different things. Maybe it has to be 20 minutes teachers talk, 80 minutes students interaction time. Many of the classes, for many of us, it didn't work at all. So that is one problem. Even though we give opportunity to students, they don't come up. They are so reluctant in expressing themselves. Why are they so reluctant in expressing themselves? Even if you have a 10 creamy layer students, only those 10 students would be answering your questions or would be participating actively in the tasks which you give them in the class. But what about the rest of the students? Why are they so reluctant in expressing themselves? Feeling inferior. Yes, one is feeling inferior. Any other problem? They have some language problems, disorder. I mean, language problem. Actually, they don't have enough vocabulary to express themselves. One thing I am just expecting you. Very good. That is very, very true, because feeling, I mean, peer pressure. What if my classmate comments on my performance, especially in the co-educational institute? This happens a lot. So, I mean, teacher center environment should be changed. It has to be interacted. Second one is limited vocabulary. So when they don't have words to express, they're not able to speak, or they're not able to write things properly. So we don't get a beautiful, I mean, what we expect them to do. That is limited vocabulary. MTI, mother tongue intrusion. So even some students want us to be bilingual in the classes. I hope the language teachers would have experienced this. They, even if they don't express this in the class, they come to us separately when we are in our rooms. They just come to us and say, "Ma'am, why don't you teach us in Tamil so that we can understand it better? How can you teach English in Tamil?" Maybe sometimes we do that also in the classes. We have to be bilingual. And when we ask them to give a presentation, what do? They start well, but in between they tend to speak some Tamil words also, because they want to express themselves, but they don't know how to express that. So they use their mother tongue to express themselves. So the mother tongue intrusion is also one of the reasons they have this difficulty to learn. And distraction, they are distracted in many ways in our classes. I hope you all accept this. One major distraction is this, the one which we have in our hand all the time. Not this one. I'm just showing. Mobile phones. Yes, our institution allows students to have mobile phones in their hands when they are in the classes. So what do they do? When we ask a question, they just Google it up and they just answer beautifully. They answer very well. So we think how fine our classes become so interactive. So how do they do? They search in the Google, they just search anywhere in the internet and just give us a good answer. They express themselves beautifully and everything happens. But what at the time of assessment, what at the time of examination? Nothing's there in the paper. So a distraction, they are distracted in many ways. One is their mobile phones. There are other ways of distraction also. They're doing multitask. They're multitasking nowadays. They'll be doing their homeworks in the class. They'll be doing some project work in the class. Because why do they do these all in our language classes? One is they are not interested in the language. They think that they have been learning English for 12 years and they have come to the next level of their education. So English is not a big one. So where I have to concentrate and listen. I have already studied all these things in my school. At the time, I can just learn something and then write and get good marks. They consider English as a subject. So they are distracted, or they do a lot of things in our classes. Is English only a subject? When do they realize that English is not? It's not only a subject. It's also a language which we have to be fluent in, which we have to comprehend. At the time of placement, they realize that. They come to us for resume corrections. They come to us for some. How do I introduce myself, ma'am? Please teach us how do I introduce myself. So when they realize all these only at the time of their placement. So there are lots of distraction as other, young children, young students, they have a lot of distractions in the classes. They have to overcome all these distractions when they are learning a language, when they are responding to us in the classroom. And strong student dominance. Of course, we all have these strong student dominance in our classes, where our classes are a heterogeneous group. We have students from all categories, all proficiency levels. So only the strong students dominant when we answers all the questions, they do well in our classes. And when we pair up, or when we just put them in the groups, these students join together and they dominate other students. So the other students with learning difficulties, they easily get intimidated by these dominance of strong students. So we should see to that we pair up a strong student with a weak student. We don't call them as a weak student. we call them as a slow learner or a student with learning difficulty. So we have to pair them, or we have to put them in groups where we have strong students as well as students with slow learners. We call them as slow learners. Okay, when we put them in groups like this, so that they can help each other and we don't find the dominance there. And attitude, like I said, their attitude towards language learning is also a problem. They have this attitude of what I'm going to learn now in my undergraduate, where I have learned for 12 years in English medium schools. I've learned all these grammar materials, everything in my schools itself. But when you ask them to give an answer about parts of speech, they're not able to give an answer. They have learned, yes, I admit, they have learned all these in their schools. But what happened? They tend to forget everything when they move to the next classes. So their attitude towards learning English is also a problem. And fear of forgetting, like he said, fear of being humiliated in the class, fear of forgetting words, awkward silences. When they speak, they have a lot of gap fillers when they speak. And fear of looking stupid in front of their classmates. What if I make mistake? What if I go wrong in between? What if I don't have enough vocabulary to express myself? This makes them not to participate at all. They don't want to initiate, they don't want to participate. So the fear of being humiliated in front of their classmates, we don't actually do that, but they have the fear of being humiliated in the class. This is also one of the reasons teachers mentioned when they deal with the students. They say that these are some of the difficulties students have. I hope you all can relate to this. Even as a research scholar, as a faculty, we would have come across these problems in our classes also. These I got from the learners. I asked few of my students, what difficulties you have when learning a language. So first they said we have peer pressure in the class. We are not very comfortable with this heterogeneous group in the class. If we have a smaller group of students of our level, we'd be comfortable. So they said that we have peer pressure. We have the strong students dominating us in our classes. This is peer pressure. Struggle for vocabulary. Yes, we want to, like engineering students, they are expected to do a lot of presentations. Not only general ones, they are expected to do a lot of technical presentations also. They say that, ma'am, we know what we wanted to say, but we don't know how to express them in English. So they have limited vocabulary. So what would be the solution to this for limited vocabulary? What solution can you give? Focus on reading habit. Yes, we can make them read a lot. Yes, one thing is we can make them read a lot. Any other solution to this for making the students develop their vocabulary?
Daily they can learn a new word.
Learn a new word. But learning a new word is not enough. They have to use them. Use them. Yes, use them. So like he said, we can make them listen to a lot of we have to keep them in the English-speaking environment for a long time. We should make them listen to English so that they pick up words. Like yes, creating an environment where they listen to a lot of yes, that I think that would really help the students. When they are in an English-speaking environment, they listen to each other, they listen to things, they pick up words, they use them in their conversation or they use them in their writing. So by that, we can just make them develop their vocabulary. And some students, not only students, faculty also felt that students are not able to construct sentences properly. They do construct. This is because they are more exposed to this SMS language nowadays. Even in their answer papers, it gets reflected. For example, where are you? They write why are you and OMG. Yes, when we ask them to write a formal dialogue writing, when we give them a formal dialogue writing, they use these words: dude, gonna, wanna, all these words they use in their formal dialogue writing, because they are so much exposed to this SMS language, so they are not able to construct sentences properly. So we need to help them to construct simple sentences first, and then we have to move to complex sentences. When we ask them to talk about sentences, even then they are not able to. We teach them the template for a presentation. We teach them how to construct sentences in a paragraph. But still, when you just look upon what they write in their paper, it's very pathetic. You can find one topic here, one topic there, one there. It's not well. They don't use these cohesive devices. Their sentences are not coherent. They don't use cohesive devices at all. Even though we teach them transition words, discourse markers, all these we teach, we can't expect all these in their output, in their performance. So pass mark, that is what students are concerned about, a pass mark in an English subject. So we have one English paper in first semester, and one English paper in the second semester. So where they have to score 50 marks to get a pass mark in that subject. So 50 marks is enough for me. I need to clear that paper. I don't want to speak like a native speaker. I don't want to write like a native person. So just a pass mark is enough. So students are worried only about the pass mark when they come, because they have a lot of things to focus on. Their core papers, everything is there. So they focus on those things, and then they treat English only as a subject where they have to pass that paper to get a degree. So that is one thing, because learners say that, ma'am, a pass mark is enough in English, because I've learned English for 12 years in my school, and a pass mark in English, I think I can manage at the time of placement. So that is one thing. Not using the opportunity. We give them a lot of opportunity in the class. Ma'am, I wanted to speak. Ma'am, yesterday you gave us an activity in the class. I wanted to participate, but I felt that I'll get more comments from my classmates, so I didn't want to participate. They didn't want to use the opportunities which we give. We ourselves will have only limited time to teach English in our institutions, but still we give them some tasks for them to improve their language. Students are so reluctant in participating in those activities, so they are not using the opportunities we give them to improve their language. Oh, let me ask you all these two questions. As learners, I said that we all are lifelong learners. We have been learning throughout. Since most of us are in teaching profession, we have to learn things. Learn a lot of things. So let me ask you all: what do you find difficult to learn? I asked these two questions to my colleagues, to the other faculty members, those who don't teach English also. I asked them and I got a lot of answers from them also. What do you find, as a teacher and as a learner, what do you find difficult to learn? Or as a research scholar, what do you find? Maybe reading a lot of papers for your research is very difficult for you now. Maybe apart from that, what do you find difficult to learn? They're not ready to read a lot, so they find it difficult to read. Find maybe one reason. Why? So it's other language, so we are not ready to read a lot in other language, maybe in English. That is one reason. So as a learner, what do you find difficult to learn? Mother tongue influence. So you feel that mother tongue influence just prevents you to learn a lot. Fine. You're asking me, is it possible? You say that it's difficult to learn new things. Okay, maybe that is one reason. That is, you find it difficult. Maybe Mr. Sam, what do you find difficult to learn? Attention, focus. Psychological inertia. Kind of self-helplessness. Oh, fine. So why? You're bored with it. Fine. So okay, that is the reason why you're finding that very difficult. And you said something. So what do you find interesting then? So it's based on the content you find. Okay, ma'am, what do you find difficult, ma'am, to learn? Anyway, both of you can answer. Both of you, I'll get 2 answers then. Yes, ma'am.
For me, remembering the facts and figures,
You find it difficult, maybe. So why?
you need to memorize things.
Oh, you need to memorize it. So you find it difficult. Ma'am, yes, ma'am. You, ma'am. Fine. So yes, that is the same with many language teachers. When I asked this question, many of them said yes, ma'am.
No. According to psychologists, actually, text, that is, words, if you tell continuously, the mindset will not be there to acquire that. Actually, the mindset will be like, as you said in the beginning, pictures. It will register the pictures first.
So not the words
Not
which
the
we
words.
speak.
And so our mind psychology is like that. And so through the pictures and through the things we can, if you say something, it will be registered.
So we can't listen to a person for a long time, but when we look at something, we can remember things.
That's what.
Fine.
As you said, multisensory.
Multisensories. Okay, maybe from this this group, from the research scholars, what do you find difficult to learn?
Things which we are going through reading continuously, that are things that we cannot ponder in our heart and mind.
Maybe if it is made mandatory that we should read that and produce a paper, that we find it very difficult and find very boring also. That might be the reason. Yes, someone from that side. Yes.
Continuing her point, she said that people find it, modern generation find it difficult to read. So I'm a reader. So how do I picturize words to the modern audience who find instant gratification through pictures and videos? How do I picturize words? The words I read from book.
You're asking me or you're giving me the reason?
A question.
It's a question. So how do I make it more interesting? How do I
Say picturize, because like I said, people these days prefer mediums of image and video. And we are used to reading. So converting words into images.
So which one you like when you're reading a story? When you're reading a story or when you're watching a movie? Which one you like? Watching a movie. Why not reading it? Because to me, reading a book is very interesting. When you watch Ponniyin Selvan or when you watch P.S. I Love You, okay? When you watch it, you only watch the characters who acted that. But when you read a book, what do? You imagine yourself, you put yourself in that character, you enjoy a lot. That's the difference between watching and reading. So when you're teaching students about things, you can make them imagine. We don't give much importance to creativity nowadays, but creativity is as important as literacy. Only then we can get a lot of output from the students. We have to make them imagine the characters. So this happens in literature classes, but not in language classes. When they read a poem or when they read a novel, they just imagine that they are the characters. They get involved in it. So this is how you can make them teach.
We know how tools work. We just need to find a way to utilize it. Now we have artificial intelligence, then virtual reality, augmented reality. We have to utilize it.
And when you talk about artificial intelligence, earlier when we assess students, for example, in Cambridge exams, I'm an examiner for Cambridge exams. When we assess students, we just look for their facial expressions, their body language also. But is it possible in artificial intelligence? Maybe it's a new one now. We have to learn a lot about artificial intelligence. Students talking to the monitor. And is it possible? Yes, as Sir said, we need to have a humanistic approach towards 50-50.
For utilization, not AI to replace the human.
Not okay, but now Cambridge exams are going to replace the examiners with artificial intelligence. Maybe the other exams they are going to follow now. It's going to be assessed by artificial intelligence only. Maybe, as you said, as this conference theme is humanistic approach. So we need to have that humanistic. That is why the first one I said we have to be empathetic towards the students. We don't need to feel sympathy for them. We have to be empathetic for the students. So, yes.
Taking this argument as the first, I find that I believe there could be many other these factors as to what hampers my learning occur. Psychological, some spatial, some spiritual, whatever. But the reason as to why I don't feel like learning is but you don't find a purpose, clarity of
I can relate to this. When I was doing my PhD, I have done 3 exams in Hindi. The first 3 exams in Hindi. I wanted to continue learning Hindi. So when I was doing my PhD, I had a lot of interest in continuing my Hindi learning. So at that time, I don't want to focus on learning Hindi. So I thought I should finish my PhD and then move on to learning Hindi. Once I finished my PhD, I lost interest in learning anything. I wanted to take a break. I did my PhD at Anna University. So I wanted to take a break from learning anything. And then I wanted to take a rest for some time. That interest went off. I didn't have interest after continuing learning. This is the same with a lot of people who are teaching in engineering institutions as well as in arts and science colleges also. We enroll ourselves in lots of courses. There's a lots of MOOC courses, massive open online courses, which is self-paced. We wanted to learn this, we wanted to learn that, we need a certificate, we wanted to show the certificate, we enroll ourselves in, we complete first module, second module, and third module, we discontinue. Why? Our interest changes, we have been multitasking. So we move from one thing to another, we discontinue lots of things, we just leave them in between and we move on to the other things. So I think we lose interest in things. So when I asked these questions to a few of my faculty members, they said they find it very difficult in using ICT in their classrooms. Nowadays, students are more tech savvy than us. Even when something goes wrong, what we do? Can anyone help me with this? Can anyone help me with this? So students come running to us and they would be helping with rectifying those problems. They are tech savvy than us. Faculty members, they are reluctant in learning to use these ICT in their classrooms. It has become mandatory that we have to use ICT in classes. It's been just pulling them down. Learning these things are pulling them down. So they think that they can just talk to them. That is one reason. The another reason they felt difficult is most of the colleges, they don't have textbooks nowadays. We use PowerPoint presentations, and whatever we show in the PowerPoint presentation is reflected in the answer papers also. We would be using some key points in the PowerPoint presentations and we'd be talking to the students. But you have only the key points in the answer papers, no proper sentences at all. So they find it difficult. And since students do like that, we cannot give the whole thing in a presentation, in a slide also. We have to only give some key points and we have to talk to the students, make them understand. This is one problem they just expressed, that is they don't have textbooks. As language teachers, we have to give a lot of examples to the students. What if we don't have a textbook, we don't have a workbook in our hands? How many examples can you write on the boards? How many examples can you get from a student? Maybe 10 students might give you examples in a classroom, but not all. But when you have a text, we can ask them to read this book. We'd be giving a lot of reference books in the class. But do you think all students will go through those reference books? Do they go to the library actually? So teachers just they express that not having a textbook or a workbook in their hands. So they feel that it's very difficult to make the students understand things in a better way. That is one reason. So one thing is, you all said that what you find difficult and why you find it very difficult. So maybe why, we have to work on why, and then we have to just improve that what also. Maybe if we feel, if we are not, if we are disoriented, if we are not interested, we have to just, if we enroll in some courses, we have to develop that interest and we have to finish those courses also, because it's a career development also. So we have to focus on that. So remedies, we have been talking about all the problems which the students had, the teachers had, from learners' perspective, from teachers' perspective. So what can be the remedies? I hope you all have remedies. You all would be using these in your classes. You all have some strategies of making students listen to you, for making them learn a language. I have only listed a few remedies here. Positive and strong interaction in the class. So it has to be positive and it has to be a strong interaction. You just see to that you make the classes interactive. Either if they feel shy to talk to you, at least put them in groups, put them in pairs, make them talk to each other at least. There has to be some interaction in the class. Second one is supportive environment, being empathetic. We have to support the slow learners. We expect all of them to be a pro, but it's not possible at all. But we have to support the slow learners. We have to encourage them. We need to give them some extra time, an extra mile, or whatever it is. We need to support them. And we have to put them in a very supportive environment where they enjoy themselves learning a language. Third one is peer interaction. Like put them in groups, make them interact with their classmates at least for some better output. Small groups. Definitely we had, once we had 75 in our classes. I hope those language teachers who have been teaching for more than a decade will understand. We had, especially in engineering institutions, we had 75 students in a class, where when we start learning the students, by the time we learn the 75th student's name, the semester would get over. So this is what's happening. We won't recognize the student outside the classroom. Only when they are in our class, we get to know that this is my student of this class. That is what was happening all the time. But now that has changed. We have small number of students in our class. We have 30 students in our class, or a maximum of 45 or 50 students in our class. We know each other's name. We can learn the names. We need to have a good relationship with the student, where the students can confide in you, even in front of others. Even if not in front of others, they have to come to you separately and they have to talk about their language learning problems. Ma'am, will I be given some extra time, or can you be bilingual in my class, or will I be given an opportunity to present in front of you in your room, so that I can just gain some confidence, so that I can present in front of my classmates. So they need to have that confidence in you, to confide in you about their language learning problem, so that it can be rectified very easily. And program structure. We have been given a syllabus when we start a language class, maybe technical English or communicative English or English 1 or English 2. We have a syllabus prescribed by the university, and we have to follow that. We have continuous assessment test. For test 1, we will be covering first 2 units. For test 2, we will be covering second and third units. So this is what we have been doing in our classes. But at the initial stage, when you start your language class in the semester, when you go for a need analysis, if you do a need analysis among your students, that would help them a lot. For example, a strong student will be only needing to refresh and do some practice, whereas a slow learner will be wanting us to teach them from the basic. So do a need analysis, and based on the need analysis, you can structure your program. Even though we have to cover a syllabus, you can just divide the syllabus, the topics in the syllabus, as per the need analysis, and teach the students. Mostly we have to be facilitators. We have to make them speak a lot in the class. So structure your program based on the need analysis of the student. Attitude. As I told, they treat English only as a subject and not as a language to be developed. And nowadays it's a skill to be developed also. So they have to do well in all the 4 skills. Where they have to get through their placement, they have to do well in all the 4 skills. So change their attitude towards their language learning. Tell them that it is very important for their placement, as well as in their working environment also. So change their attitude towards language learning, and make them realize that it is a skill, it is a language to be developed, and it would help them a lot throughout their life. So change their attitude. And confidence. When they have confidence, and when you boost their confidence, anything is possible. Even if it is a slow learner, when you boost their confidence, they definitely start to learn. So making them confident about language learning is all we can do. Learning a language is in their hands only. We can only take the horse to the pond. We cannot make the horse drink. So taking the horse to the pond is like boosting their confidence, making them realize that they have to learn this language. So boost their confidence, help them, motivate them, Studying language every day, like he said, that putting them in their language learning environment, making them use the language every day, reading newspapers. You can just, when in your institutions, if you have a library, encourage them to go to the library, make them read a lot of books in English. Whatever books they like to read, make them read books. So they have to use the language every day. If you ask them to read newspaper, it will not work at all. Ask them to read some Tinkle, Reader's Digest, or like the comics which they like, and encourage them to watch movies without subtitles, because they watch English movies with subtitles. So don't encourage that. So encourage them or motivate them to watch movies without subtitles. Initially, they will not understand anything, but after fifth or sixth film, definitely they can understand. They will learn from that. So staying motivated always. So they have to stay motivated about language learning. So it is our duty to make them motivated, to motivate them to learn the language, to develop their, not learning, develop their language. And the last language is use target language. Encourage them, motivate them to use the target language. I mean, being bilingual in the class will help them at the initial stage to express themselves, but finally we want them to express their ideas only in English. So we have to encourage them to use the target language. Never mind when they make mistakes, let them learn from their mistakes. So you need to give a lot of tasks where they can make mistakes, learn from their mistakes, and then use the language to the fullest. So these are some of the remedies. I hope you all have few more remedies or more remedies to encourage your students. These are the ones which I have listed here. So words can be weapons that diminish and destroy, or they can be tools and instruments that create, encourage, and uplift. Let me just tell you a story. This story is taken from a TED talker. So a student, a girl, probably a girl, she was just, she came to her mother, and the school authority called her mother and told that your girl is not focusing. She's been distracting others. She's not focusing on anything. She's not listening to us. She's been doing a lot of things, mischievous things in the class. So you better take her to a psychiatrist. Okay. So a mother took her to the psychiatrist. The psychiatrist, she was just complaining a lot of things about her daughter to the psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist was watching the daughter. She was just simply sitting there watching everything in the psychiatrist's room. And the psychiatrist asked the mother, ma'am, can I have a few words with your daughter so that you can wait outside? So the mother went outside. So the psychiatrist spoke to the daughter, and he had a tape recorder on the room. So he just played some music on it, and he was just talking to the daughter. And after a while, he went outside and spoke to her mother again. Even then, her mother was complaining a lot of things about her daughter. My school says this, that. She was just giving some more and more complaints. The psychiatrist took the mother to that room, the psychiatrist's room, and asked her, just watch. You know what the daughter was doing? She was just dancing to the music that was playing in the the tape record in the psychiatrist's room. So the psychiatrist immediately told, what can you see there, ma'am? She's dancing. Yes, you wanted her to sing, but actually she's capable of dancing. So it is not the problem with her, it's the problem with the environment, the situation. So identify. A student can write well but cannot speak. This vice versa also. So identify the talent, focus more on that. So that is very important. But we expect them to do, expect them to write, read, speak, and listen. So slowly we can move from one skill to another. You might have seen a person speaking well but not writing properly. So identify what they can do first, and based on that, you can just improve the other skills also. This is one story. Another story. A boy ran from a school and handed over his mother a letter. Mom, this is a letter which my school gave, and just ordered me to give this letter only to your mother. So I'm just giving this letter to you. So his mother, with tearful eyes, read that letter. Your son is a genius. We don't have teachers in our school to educate your son anymore. So better you just keep him at home and educate on your own. So this was what it's written on the letter. And what happened? His mother started teaching that boy. She did some homeschooling and she started teaching. After long years, she died. And this son happened to look into the things in a closet, and he found that letter, a letter which was folded, a paper which was folded. When he opened it, it was the letter from his school. Do you know what was written on the letter? Your son is mentally ill. He's not able to focus on anything. You better keep him at home. Please don't send him to the school. That boy, he's the one who has invented a lot of things. You know who that boy is? Thomas Alva Edison. Thomas Alva Edison. Thank you for the answer, but that boy is Thomas Alva Edison. So as a teacher, when we encourage them with words, it's a mother-son story, but I'm relating it to the student teacher. Okay, when we use the words as weapons that diminish and destroy, nothing will happen. But on the other hand, when we use them as tools to encourage and motivate the students, identify their talent or identify which skill they are good at, when they identify that and we encourage, definitely they are going to excel, they are going to succeed. Thank you, everybody. That is the end of my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you
Any
for
questions? Sorry, any questions?
Should we teach parts of speech to engineering students?
If it is there in the syllabus, we have to, sir. Even otherwise, we have to. At least to refresh their memory, we have to. Because it's the basic one, so we have to touch upon that to some extent.
That is my question. I'd like to ask when we speak mother tongue, we are not concerned about or we are not worried about which is noun, which is pronoun, which is verb, adjective, adverb. And when it comes to learning English or teaching English, why are we more concerned about these parts of speech, don't, so, that, do?
We have been using our mother tongue for a long time. We didn't have a conscious effort in learning our mother tongue. We just imitated what our parents did. So we didn't learn from them that this would be noun, this would be verb. So we didn't learn. We picked up all the words from them, and we imitated them without any problem. But learning English was a conscious effort from our KG classes, right? So we have been taught to speak good English without any grammar mistakes. So we have this thing in our mind that we have to speak without any mistake, without any grammatical mistake, of course. So that was a conscious effort. When you do things consciously, you are worried about a lot of things. When it happens naturally, we are not worried about only we focus only on the fluency. Then we won't be worried about where we go wrong, what we go wrong, and where. I mean, the conscious effort that.
See, this is I have learned from my daughter, and நாளைக்கு நீங்க வாங்கி தந்தீங்கல்ல அப்படி சொல்ற that's what my daughter says. அப்பா நேத்துக்கு நம்ம போவோம்ல, that's what she starts speaking. But over the years,
but you can still understand here her, right?
Understand, and I'm not trying to, I'm not taking any efforts to
correct her.
Okay, in course of time she also learns that and corrects as it is. Likewise, we can't be it's a universal problem, not only is in the co or any other institutions, right? Why can't the institution take efforts to create learning environment?
We do give opportunities, sir.
Concerned about what is that grammar?
To this question, I told you that you have to focus only on the fluency, not on the mistakes. You have to encourage students to speak, even if they make mistakes. Doesn't matter. The thing is, they have to express themselves first, and slowly they'll realize their mistakes, where it went wrong and how it went wrong. They'll focus on their mistakes and then correct themselves. But we shouldn't give negative comments on their mistakes. We need to encourage them to speak first, to express themselves first. Like you did for your daughter, slowly she picked up, right? The way students will also pick up. But when you give them some negative comments at the beginning itself, they will not move forward. Any more questions? Yes, sir.
Why should I learn English? So what I'm telling is, as per sir asking, when you say the importance of the language to the students, automatically they will follow us. They will learning so many things in language.
So we are not discouraging them talking or being fluent in their mother tongue, sir, but we do encourage them, motivate them to use this target language where they have to be fluent enough to write, read, speak, because it is a global language, and we expect them to use this language even in their working environment
In my
also.
teaching, I found that the students are lagging knowing the importance of language. Just I want to say that. So
yes, like I said, they just consider English only as a subject and not
Thank you,
not
thank
as a language to be developed. So when we just talk to them about the importance of being good at this language, definitely I think they'll realize, because they realize this only at the third year or the fourth year, when it is time for their placement. When they are rejected for their communicative skills, communication skills, they realize that I have to develop this language. But it's too late for them to realize, because it's time for their placement. All their classmates would have been selected by a good company. They'd be selected by the third or the fourth company. Then they realize. Even if you just make them realize the importance of language in the first year, we just talk to them in the placement perspective, they will not understand it. Only few just they realize, they learn, they use, they improve their vocabulary, and so on. Not everyone will realize.
One more thing for the parts of speech which you said. Actually, we are all teaching technical English for the technical engineering students, right? So in that way, they should know how to use the parts of speech, especially related to the technical terms. Furthermore, many of the placement questions have a lot of questions related to parts of speech. That's why we are supposed to teach it further and further. Okay, fine.
So verbal ability, they have to be strong in verbal ability, right?
That's the purpose. Okay, ma'am.
Thank you all for your patience listening to me.
Thank you
so
for
much.
sensitizing all of us to the learning difficulties, which is often assumed and ignored in classrooms. We assume that students, and we expect that students should overcome these difficulties on their own. And thank you for reminding us that it is our responsibility to address the learner difficulties. Thank you, ma'am. We will go for lunch, and we'll be back at 1:20. The next session starts at 1:20.